Indiana basketball is undoubtedly one of the blue bloods of the college basketball world. But they've been in a position recently where they just haven't seen the results that they're looking for. And the fan base itself has to be a little starved for success at this point in time. They did a good job at the end of last year. They got some of the pieces that were very productive for them to stick around for another year. But then they had some room to work in the portal and bring in guys who would make an instant impact. And that's just what they did. They bring in 4 guys who are all, in my opinion, real studs at what they do respectively. And for that reason, Indiana is going to be one of our perfect portals of 2024. Hello and welcome back to our Perfect Portal series here at Green Flag Sports, where we're breaking down, portal classes, so classes that were put together out of the transfer portal for this cycle that really address the needs of the teams that they're going to. So it's not necessarily a one-for-one of, what do recruiting sites say were the highest rated classes. It's how do these classes directly relate to the success that their team's going to have this year. And today we're focusing on Indiana. So they, like I said, brought in 4 guys who I feel like are very talented and are going to fill very specific roles, for Coach Woodson at Indiana. So let's just take a step back and talk holistically. When you're putting together, a transfer portal class or deciding who you're going to target, you're breaking down what specifically do I need. And I think a lot of times the first priority is we need somebody who is a proven option, scoring the ball efficiently, and can kind of be our rock when our offense starts going through some shaky times. And in my opinion, Indiana got one of the best options to fill that role in the entire portal in Oumar Ballo. He is someone who can score, from, just a post ISO situation, can get offensive rebounds, runs the floor, steals really well. I put together a highlight package. We're going to take a look at Oumar Ballo just dominating on the block.
So first and foremost, Oumar Ballo is just such a massive individual, super strong, and has really good feet. So he's able to really create things out of tight spots simply by just creating space with his body and using his reach to go over the top. So that's something you love to see. He also works extremely hard on sealing and getting good position. So, you'll notice in some of these clips, he's really creating an angle for his guard to throw the pass over the top and get him a look that he's very comfortable finishing. Another thing that's great about him is athletically, he can finish in a variety of ways. So he's, really, good at getting the ball up high, quick, keeping it high, going over the top, finishing with either dunks or a hook. He just, is another thing that's a small detail of his game is he finishes through people without getting offensive fouls, or he can try to limit those by not throwing a shoulder and more leading with his hip, which is something you try to teach post players from a young age. But overall, he is just a massive target who finishes well, and guards are just going to love playing with him.
So when you're looking at, your checkbox for the portal class, big man who can be our rock on offense, check that off. What's next? We need a guard who can be a creator, can run in a pick and roll with that big, can really get things moving and generate some motion and some just movement on offense. So, they start evaluating their options and they end up landing Kanaan Carlyle, who, I think was a little underutilized at Stanford last year. Could really do a lot more, could see a huge bump in production. But I think coming into this offense, he's going to be a really good fit. Just take a look at how he was able to run the pick and roll game at Stanford last year.
Kanaan Carlyle is someone who has a lot of skill with the ball in his hands, and he operated really well out of the pick and roll situation last year. So, is where he spent the most of his time and where he was most effective and efficient. He can create just from a variety of angles coming off of these screens. So, he's able to read his defender, and if the defender is going under the screen, he can pull up. If they give him space, he can stop and hit that mid-range. And also, he's got some good length to his game. So if he can get ahead of steam going towards the basket, he's able to finish pretty well. I think with a lot of what was around him last year, he was in a position where he had to force some shots, so his efficiency suffered because of that. But I think when you surround him with, a bit more capable guard plays and a more structured system, like you're going to see him shine. And I think that's why he's rated so high on a lot of these recruiting websites. But overall, great addition, great with the ball in his hands, will be a great initiator for the offense.
So those two areas you feel very comfortable with. You have your big, you have your guard who can kind of create off the dribble, specifically in screen and roll situations. But I think what they felt like they were missing next is a guard who can create for himself, can be just a bucket getter into shot clock, after timeout type draw ups, where you're looking for someone who can just kind of take over the game in a small window where you really need a bucket, but you need a guard to be able to break down someone off the dribble and get to the rim. And again, they got one of the top guys in that regard in the portal. Myles Rice is somebody who can really just demand attention because he can break down his man off the ball, get to the rim at will, and finish. So just take a look at these examples. So there's two specific sections to this clip package. The first one is just going to be him just completely owning his man off the dribble, finishing creatively at the rim. And the second is going to be more in an ISO situation. He didn't do it a ton last year, but is able to really create some space and get wide open three-point looks. He did it, again, not all that much last year, but when he did, he looked very effective. So that's going to be the second half of the clip. Let's take a look at Myles in action now.
So I just love the fact that Myles Rice is able to create for himself at such a high clip. I mean, he can just, with the ball in his hands, create so much space, it puts defenders off balance. And once he gets to the rim, he's not reliant on just finishing in a crazy athletic way. He's very crafty, but he's crafty at full speed, which is something you don't see a lot from guys and guards that are in the portal. So I think that really behooves him well as he is, going to be in a position to create for himself, to go in some ISO situations. And then as we look at it too, not just getting to the rim, he creates so much space that it's going to result in him getting some wide open looks. Like you just saw right there, just a little crab pullback dribble, and he's created 5 feet of space from that defender. It's really nice to see. He can just work switches really well too. So if he goes into a pick and roll game, he's able to just kind of exploit that switch, and he's not afraid to keep guys honest by shooting the ball. When you need a creator for your offense, there's not many options better than Myles Rice, and it's why I love the pickup for Indiana.
And then lastly, I think the one thing that they were really missing from this cycle in the portal is bringing in someone who will be a knockdown shooter. Those options are few and far between, and it's very competitive when we see a true knockdown shooter come into the portal. So what is your other option there is finding somebody who is maybe underutilized or who shot, a good percentage but could probably see an uptick in a new offense. And I feel like they really did that with this next player. He comes in and he's at Illinois last year. Goode was a decent three-point shooter, shot about 38%. But I think in this new offense, he's going to be able to really flourish and probably get some more space and more open looks. So when you see this next clip package, the one thing I want you to focus on is Goode's release and how quick it is and repeatable it is. Because when I look at shooters, that's always what I'm on the lookout for. I want to see a quick release that looks very, repeatable and on balance. And I think you're going to see it in this clip package here.
So Luke Goode is the lowest rated recruit out of this class, but I still love kind of the options that he's going to bring to the table. I mentioned you talk about a quick release. He's catching the ball in the pocket, and he's very quick from getting to the pocket to getting the ball in the air. I think, from a spacing perspective, when you look at what Indiana brought in from other aspects of the portal, he's going to come in and really provide more firepower and just spacing for those options. So he's a complementary piece, that can really have a higher ceiling than what he displayed at Illinois. So you have Kanaan Carlyle and Myles Rice operating off the ball and trying to get paint touches, and you have Ballo that has his own gravity by the basket, and then you throw a guy like Goode on the floor who is just going to create space for all of that to work. And if he doesn't create the space, then that means he's going to be getting open jump shots where he's shot a pretty good percent throughout his career. And I think with how he shoots the ball, that has room to even go up. So overall, great spacing option. Love the pickup in general.
So those are the 4 additions that Indiana has locked up right now. And like I said, I think they just really fit a lot of the needs that this team was going to have coming into the year. So, you put yourself in a situation where you're going to have guys who all do different things and it can all help you out in different areas. And the one thing I want to point out about Indiana is that the cupboard, is not bare there. They're going to return multiple 10-plus point scores per game. I would love to break those guys down in a future video and kind of put a bow on Indiana as a whole. But the cupboard's not bare. They have talent on that roster. They weren't a bad team last year. They just had some deficiencies that, I think they're going to solve with these additions. Ballo is just an impact guy. Like he's the one that impresses me the most, quite frankly. But those other three can all do things that every basketball team needs, and they can do them at a super high level. So I think when you look at a team that's increased their ceiling the highest through this transfer portal process, Indiana just has to be really high on that list just because of the fact of what they've done and the pieces that they've added. So I really think they're poised for just a very big spike in production across the board, and I could see them, being a team that can make a deep run by the end of the year. And that's going to do it today for our Perfect Portal segment. I really appreciate everyone tuning in and watching this. Trying to spread myself around the country, cover some of these top portal classes, so I appreciate the time that you guys have given me. If you've gotten anything out of this, please like, subscribe, comment. All of that stuff improves my reach, helps me, get access to some more material, as well as just more viewers and some the ability just to spread some basketball knowledge, which is, my number one priority. It's something that I love and I care about deeply. So again, appreciate all of you. I'll see you on the next one.